I am here with composer Dan Perttu, someone who, Dan, you and I have met probably the last 3 or 4 years at a couple of the league
hmm
conferences.
hmm
And
Yeah.
and I always really appreciate you because when I get around people I don't know, I tend to go find a corner and not talk to anyone because I'm shy and you may be shy too, but you go up to people and you introduce yourself to me, which I really appreciated the first time we met. And so anyways, I'm happy to have you here. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I can totally relate to the whole conference networking thing is not always my fun space, but hey, why not? You got to put yourself out there.
It's part of the gig, and you're doing great. And so the reason we're talking today is we are performing a piece of yours called "To Spring," an overture, at our concerts next weekend. Well, I don't
hmm
know when people are going to be watching this, but coming up in March 21st. Um, the which, by the way, is also the spring equinox. So it's a
Yeah.
perfect. The date is perfect. We're also performing two works by our young artist winners, and then Beethoven Six, which I think is a perfect kind
Mm.
of idea awakening type piece
Yeah.
along. So, do you mind first just telling us a little bit about the piece to spring?
Yeah, absolutely. So, this piece is based on a poem by William Blake, and the poet, English Romantic era poet William Blake. And I always loved his poetry, always spoke to me. And while it's from the 1700s, it still has the same themes that we can all relate to. Certainly, Spring Awakening, while it's nothing new, and it's something we feel every year, but I don't. Now, granted, you're in Florida, but and Ocala's in Florida, but
Right, right.
even down there, you had probably 30-degree nights, and it was like, oh my God, the world's ending for you guys. Up here in Pennsylvania, where I live, we had minus 14 and
Oh my
minus
gosh.
whatever. It was wretched. And
No.
okay, so the theme of spring is like, I'm sorry, it never stops being a relief when
Right.
when the dark days are over and when winter is behind us. It is a huge emotional relief. And so when I read that poem, I thought, I just have to write a piece on this. And then on top of it, it was around the time when my first daughter was born and my second daughter was on the way. And so it was in the mid 20 teens. And I was a new dad, and it was a great time to be. Sleep deprived, of course, but not as bad as their poor mom. But also just going through babyhood with the girls. It was a great time in my life to write something that was about literally birth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the genesis of the piece, and it's meant to be a way to uplift audiences and just bring a lot of joy after a very maybe not so fun winter time, or if you want to get metaphorical, a release from sort of the whatever stress may be happening.
Sure. Yeah, I think even in Ocala we'll appreciate the idea of spring. There actually was a relatively cold winter. I spend a lot of my time in Washington D.C. now, so
Oh,
with that coldness, I'm also looking forward to being in Florida next weekend and performing this piece, kind of warming us up all together. So it's going to be exciting. One thing I really like about your music, and you've got a lot of premieres happening right now, right? You've got a violin concerto happening this weekend, coming up.
hmm
Um, but one thing I like about your music is uh, it's always to me, while every piece may not be programmatic in the sense of this happens and this happens and this happens, I feel there's at least an emotional program happening. Like I follow your pieces. I follow, like I'm going on a journey as I'm listening. Is that something that you look for or hope for when you're creating something? Or
Yeah, thanks for noticing that. It is. I am very much, and I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I am inspired by narratives in various forms, whether it's in a poem or whether it's in literature, or whether it's actually in film. Of course, I'm also a big fan of various film music. Some people have told me, "Oh, your music's very cinematic," and I'm like, I think that's a compliment. I hope it is.
Yeah,
And
you can take it that way. I would.
I'm just going to take it that way
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
like John Williams, like everyone knows him and his music's
Yes.
amazing.
Right.
And, I grew up listening to music that told stories, and I loved music that told stories, whether it was something like Beethoven 6, because it has a very vivid program, or or something like Brahms 1. Brahms 1 isn't literally about anything.
Right.
Brahms' First Symphony is abstract, but the musical narrative is so vivid.
Yes.
There's struggle in the first movement of that symphony, and then it turns from that darkness into triumph at the end. And okay, the darkness into triumph arc, everyone's been doing that for hundreds of years. That's not the point. The point is, what kind of new story can you tell on themes that everyone can relate to?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do in my music. After we've had composers like John Cage who've written music about nothing, literally.
Right.
Um, what can you do after that? What you can
Right.
do is you can always tell a new story that people can relate to using themes that they're familiar with.
Yeah.
So that's
No.
what I try to do.
Well, I think you're successful in that and accomplish it. And I know our audience is going to really appreciate this to spring. We're going to start the concert with this, and I think it's a perfect way to begin. You talk about the growth of your daughters. We also have two young artists on the program, so it's sort of relates to the growth of them. It's so when I found this piece and knowing what else was on the program, I thought this was just a perfect fit. By the way, William Blake and Beethoven died in the same year. So there's
Oh,
also a connection. They both 1827. So another connection there, between the works, and I'm really excited. Is there anything specific that is either I don't want to say your favorite part, but is there because I know you have no favorites among children or anything like that, but is there anything specific that when you hear this piece that you just go, oh wow, that moment or that
yeah,
section, maybe something you toiled away on and finally figured it out or whatever that you
yeah.
would mention?
No, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's like choosing a favorite child. Every composition is a different facet of the composer, and within every composition is even has different moods and shapes. Within To Spring, it starts with that sort of bubbling, sense of
Yeah,
expectation.
yeah,
But what I really love is after some of the big grand stuff happens, and sort of the stage is set, there are parts in the middle that are a little darker,
sure.
and and it doesn't mean it's pessimistic or anything like that. I
Right,
think for me, those darker sections are more like, well, what does that remind you of? It reminds you of, okay, maybe there's a spring thunderstorm, or maybe there's, something literal like that. Or maybe it's
sure.
something a little more metaphorical, like, maybe you're a little nervous about something, or maybe,
Yeah, with new
something's not
opportunities comes places to be nervous about, right?
exactly.
Yeah, totally get that.
Yeah, and so it's a different kind of mood in the middle, but this piece is about joy ultimately, and happiness, and so it that tension gets resolved. And one thing I really love doing is finding new ways to resolve tension in music.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
What when you talk about tension, I think it's so important, especially for our listeners and patrons that they may not be music theory nerds or no offense, I know you, and
yeah,
but they may not, but they I think we all understand the concept of tension and release, which essentially, as you know, as a such an educator, music really is all that's all it is. It's tension and release.
yeah,
It seems like to me, built around that.
hmm
And I do feel like in your work, that's clear, and exciting. And you mentioned that beginning. I enjoy the beginning. It actually reminds me of parts of the Beethoven, just the bubbling, the effervescence of that, and like this idea of spring coming. And I know here in DC, it got above, I don't know, 50 or so the other day. And now it's actually quite nice. But as soon as it was literally 45, 50, people are in shorts and t-shirts. Whereas from Florida, I'm still like, I'm freezing. So I've got my coat on, walking the dog. I still have the little hat on. And everyone's like, what's this guy doing? I mean, they're all shorts and, but anyways, but
Yeah.
that feeling that you mentioned, that excitement, that's in this piece, that it's time, that this stuff's behind us. So I'm really excited. And you'll be with us in Ocala
Yeah.
next weekend. So where are you going this weekend? Where's your premiere this weekend?
Yeah. So tomorrow I fly out to Wichita.
Okay.
So the Wichita Symphony is premiering Stealing from Birds, which is a violin concerto, and it's literally based on bird songs.
Nice.
And also Beethoven 6 has the cuckoo in it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but my bird violin concerto has like 15 different bird songs that I took from
Wow.
recordings and I transcribed into notes. And so that's
Did you
happening
did you
this
take the
com
recordings yourself? Sorry, not to interrupt you, but
No, no, that's fine.
yeah.
No, that's a funny story. I listened to recordings from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology,
Oh yeah.
and which is great. They have great recordings online,
Incredible.
but we
Yeah.
want to use them at the orchestra. We had to get the rights to the recordings because a
Wow.
human recorded them.
Yes.
Okay, anyone could go and record a bird, and we aren't going to pay the birds royalties because we can steal from the birds. But as
Right.
soon as you involve a human in it, you got to pay them royalties.
Gosh.
So, so that was actually kind of complicated to deal with.
Yeah,
But
that's a cool database though, right? The bird songs that Cornell has is
yeah,
pretty amazing. But anyway,
it's amazing. They
yeah.
have all those songs. And so, yeah, I'm going to Wichita and then the following weekend I'm coming to Ocala. And immediately after Two Spring, I'm flying over to Norfolk, Virginia, because they're doing one of my pieces at Symphonicity, Phoenix,
Wow.
another bird piece.
Okay.
Go figure.
Yeah. Now, are they, was it Phoenix or what are they doing? Are they the
Yeah, at Symphonicity in Virginia Beach, they're
yeah,
performing Phoenix, which
Phoenix.
is
Okay.
yeah, a tone poem.
And that was a piece
It's a
that
5 minute one, but
that was recorded by London, right? Is that right? That one?
yes,
Yeah, awesome. That's such a
yeah.
great piece. And I'm so happy that we're doing this piece. And I know this is going to be the first of many that we get to do in the future. And I'm glad you'll be with us. I know our audience will enjoy meeting you in person. And
Hmm.
and I think you're going to hopefully, depending on flights and all that's a little wild right now, but it looks like you may be able to be there for our open rehearsal Friday night, which will be
Yeah.
great. You get a
As
chance.
long as the airplane gods are on my side, I'll be
Yeah.
there.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed. And anyways, Dan, thank you so much for taking the time with me today, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. I can't wait.